And welcome to the Cinemondo podcast.
How does it work?
Blessings upon you all. And I'm not mocking anything here, but
we are. We're mocking it a little bit.
There are movies. I'm not a religious person, but I actually really like movies that involve the sort of darker aspects of the concept of religion. And like one of my favorite movies is, The Exorcist and also Rosemary's Baby. They all have that kind of the foundation in
The First Omen, which is one recently that was quite good.
The Real Omen.
Yeah.
And they're all based on the stories from religions. And for some reason, those are the scariest stories to me because I think I grew up being scared of those stories. But we're going to talk about a trailer for a film about the actual business of
business of religion. I mean, this is about the Catholic religion.
Business.
It's about picking a new pope. The movie is called Conclave and has a great cast: Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini, John Lithgow. And directed by Edward Berger, who directed that great version of All Quiet on the Western Front that won Best Oscar. So I loved that movie. I thought it was
great.
Really great. So
it really was.
It's a really good director and a good cast, but it's about the sort of the political, the behind the scenes stuff that happens in the Vatican when a pope dies and you have to find the replacement pope. So maybe that doesn't sound that cinematic, but it might be.
I kind of like the look behind the curtain kind of movies. Like, how does it work? Like, what does happen? Like, how much of that is political and what's wrangling and how emotional? Like, I would be interested in seeing how that works out.
Yeah, and the whole Vatican thing, when you go there, you get the impression that there's so many secrets behind those curtains, and behind those walls and ancient, facades and stuff. It's like, come on, what do you really know? Come on, tell us,
And usually it's in the context of a horror film. So there's something about, the devil. But this one is more about, I would think, the realistic world of politics, which we haven't seen a movie about that before. So I find that fascinating. So let's take a look at the trailer for Conclave.
All right.
Coming November 1st, by the way.
Just in time for the holidays. They're looking for Oscar nominations. That's what that means.
Probably, right.
And
the Pope is dead.
The throne is vacant.
What happened?
They say a heart attack.
You know how rumor spreads, and 1.25 billion souls watching.
Well gotten, no, Lawrence.
It seems the responsibility for the conclave falls upon you.
The supervision of this election is a duty I never thought I'd have to perform. They are sequestered, and they must be shielded from all news that may influence their judgment. You understand?
No sane man would want the papacy.
The men who are dangerous are the ones who do want it.
That sounds ominous.
I wonder if I could have a word in private.
You look anxious. Everything under control.
How has this been kept a secret for so long?
We'll never find a candidate who doesn't have any kind of black mark against them.
Although we sisters are supposed to be invisible, God has nevertheless given us eyes and ears.
You should be careful, Thomas.
This is a conclave, Aldo. It's not a war.
It is a war. And you have to commit to a side.
There is one sin which I have come to fear above all others. Certainty. If there was only certainty and no doubt, there would be no mystery. And therefore no need for faith.
All right.
Well, I'm going to watch that.
I don't watch that.
They do live there? I don't know the answer.
I don't think so. I think there are apartments there, and
okay,
for the people that do live there. But I don't think the people. I mean, each of those representatives from different countries that we were seeing in the film, they live in their own countries, and then they all gather together when the Pope, because the Pope is like president of the Catholics,
Right.
Okay.
So they all get together and they, whatever the the protocol is, I don't know, which I don't know. I don't know a lot about it and a little bit about it, but
but I think a lot of people do.
It's its own country. It's
its own country, right?
It's in the middle of Rome.
Yeah, I know.
And when we went there, we walked across the bridge from Rome, and you turn left, and you walk.
Now you're in Vatican
City, basically.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting. Is like when a pope does die, all that happens is it's just closed doors, just like this, and you just wait for the smoke. You wait for the smoke. So we're getting inside there, which I think is really compelling, and based on a book, so we're not sure about how much of it is true, but obviously it has that political intrigue and actually very cinematic within there. Some beautiful shots, novellas, and so
and I love
thought it was
those
very
sneaking
cool.
around in the dark hallways and lots of whispering and secrets, and written documents are probably like, this totally puts us at odds with what we're supposed to do. Should I tell anyone what's going to happen? I love that. And I also love that, Isabella Rossellini, like she said, the women in there are just invisible, basically. And they had that great shot, that very Handmaid's Tale of all the women walking, or maybe it weren't just women. Yeah. But I love that. It felt like it with the red and the white, and they're just all walking. It's like, I like the idea that women don't really have a voice in the church like that. So you see a bunch of guys deciding on the next guy, So I think that was worth bringing up, because you wonder, like, is that ever going to change? That they'll actually let a woman in? Probably.
Yeah,
it's a big, hard, fast rule. It needs to be a man on top
of all of that. I mean, not to disparage anyone's beliefs or faiths or anything, but my personal beliefs is that that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Keeping certain people in and certain people out. That's
and I think you get the sense from this movie that that's part of the whole story. Like,
I love that.
These men are, like, choose one side or the other. Be very careful. I mean, it's all just sort of still men sort of power playing, regardless if it's religion or politics or business or whatever. So it's just a great cast. Everybody I like.
Yeah, it looks really intriguing.
Really good. So I'm really excited for that one.
With the story, I wasn't too clear about why there is an issue here. Like, normally when the Pope dies, there's a next in command, I guess, or like a vice Pope, or I don't know, but there's some process and some protocol that they go through, and that's just how it's done. But in this situation, it seemed like there was an issue. There was some kind of a problem with that, and they can't do it the way they normally do it. And it
also seemed like there was doubt about how the guy died. Like, they're kind of like, they say a heart attack, but it seemed like they're trying to get him out of the way. Like, maybe he was going to do something unpopular with the powers that be. It sort of felt like that.
The truth.
It's a topic I know like 1% about, clearly. So that's why it's kind of interesting to me, because you hear about the Vatican, I've been to the Vatican, you hear about the Pope a lot. They have a pretty cool Pope right now, as popes go. Not perfect, but as it goes, she's better than some. But you wonder, like, how are they chosen, and what are the politics behind it? Because I don't think it's just as easy as, we'll just see what color smoke is. I feel like that is all pre-figured out, and they decide who they want, and then they send out the signal. But it's not like, you're the one. It just seems a little like, So I'll just say, as a film and an education, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you kind of again have to wonder, does the writer have some sort of insider knowledge about it? Because so much of it is secret behind closed doors and kind of not presented to the public for very specific reasons.
That's right.
And I've always kind of wondered about that, like why, like what's really going on in there, and
the Catholic Church doesn't have a great reputation, especially in America. A lot of protecting priests who are doing untoward things and breaking laws and just being protected. It's so much you got to wonder, like, how is it set up that that's okay, and it does seem to just go away. They pay out money, but no one goes to jail. Very rare. So. Yeah, this is kind of interesting to see how that works. You put up
that religion banner, and you can do. I mean,
protection. It's a shield.
Go on and on with my stories from childhood about things like that. But if you put up that banner,
it's I think it's why it makes it interesting, because we don't know, and all that stuff can play into this, and we don't know if the writer of the bestseller knows anything, or this is just pure fiction and fun.
That's right.
Who knows? Right. So anyway, it looks really well made.
It does.
I'm a big fan of the director. So
some people will tell you that things like The Exorcist are kind of speculation, because remember in The Exorcist where Chris McNeil asks Father Karras, I think I need an exorcist. And he says, well, the first thing you're going to have to do is get into a time machine and go back to the old days. He said, we don't really do that in the modern church anymore. And, there's things that you kind of think go on in the church, and some movies speculate about it. Like, do they really have an exorcist on staff or a postulator and all these different things that you hear about? But it's like, do they really do exorcisms?
Right.
That's why I love that Serious Evil that's on Paramount Plus. And they have like the assessors. They have a team of assessors, and it's a Catholic priest. It sounds like a Catholic priest, an atheist, and a psychiatrist go into a bar, and they assess, like, the church comes to them and goes, okay, we have this case. We want you to go to look and see, is there anything to it? And they go to it. And it's always something else. Like, it's always some kind of cool thing. It's a very fun, episodic kind of show about, the Catholic Church and how this one guy's a tortured priest. He's losing his faith, that kind of thing. The input from these other people to him, and it's actually really, really good. And it's got a sense of humor. It's actually really fun. But that's about all I know about the Catholic Church. So I've seen on this show. Apparently, there's a lot of activity in the demon world. That's all I'm saying. A lot. So. Just saying, they do exist. I saw them on TV.
Anyway, this looks like a really fun or interesting film, and coming out November 1st. And so
pretty authoritative. It looks like they shot it in some really
very important
locations, and the costuming and everything looked pretty accurate.
Gorgeous.
So
it screams Oscar nomination.
Yeah,
it wants it bad.
Yeah, it does. We'll see. It's good. All right, everybody. Thanks. Take care, everybody. See you soon.